if we're walking along and Sam comes across an obstacle, he'll pull over to the side of the curb as he's done here. Then I would tell him forward, and he would go round the obstacle into the road and try and find the next available opportunity that he can get back up onto the curb.
John is visually impaired and needs the help of his guide dog Sam to get out and about, but it makes Sam's job and John's life harder if they have cars blocking the pavement.
I don't think that people do it out of malicious intent. I don't think people do it on purpose. I think it's just the fact that people are just maybe not aware of the problems that it can cause for people like myself. So hopefully by bringing in this ban, it will raise the awareness for all drivers.
The Scottish Government gave local authorities the power to issue fines for parking on pavements at the end of 2023. Perth and Kinross is the latest area to have it enforced. From today, people can face penalties of up to £100. Similar to how you'd report things like potholes and fly tipping, Perth and Kinross Council says instances of incorrect parking can be reported through its website. But there are certain exemptions to this, including for emergency services, postal and delivery vehicles.
They always use the most outrageous examples, such as the imagery you can see here on screen when it comes to trying to justify this pavement parking ban. Now, of course, I don't think anybody out there, but that's the purpose of it, isn't it, with this propaganda? I don't really think, necessarily speaking, anybody out there would disagree with the idea of somebody not being able to park in a manner similar to the one you can see on screen. But it really does go a lot further than that, in all honesty, when you take into consideration, and obviously this is the Highland Council's website. They were one of the first constituencies of Scotland alongside Edinburgh to put this into force. I made a video on it. In fact, there's still a stream on my channel where I was speaking about it ad nauseum. But pavement parking is unsafe, unfair and illegal. Going on to say here that the Highland Council's parking enforcement team are reminding drivers that since yesterday, the 11th of December 2023, the Transport Scotland Act has prohibited pavement parking, double parking, and parking at dropped curbs, and anyone caught doing any of the aforementioned could face a £100 fine. And then, of course, they use the proverbial shite, such as insinuating or claiming even that pavement parking is unsafe, unfair, and of course now it's illegal. And many people face daily difficulties with pavement parking. It is dangerous and frustrating, especially for those with impairments or limited mobility. It can force people to take unnecessary risks. For example, people using wheelchairs and buggies or prams without access to drop curbs can be forced onto the road, risking their safety. Anyone parking on a pavement risks a fine of £100 or just £50 if paid within the 14-day period. So, my point was on the stream and the videos and whatnot that I've talked about it in the past, like they use the propaganda, etc. But there is a happy medium here, surely. If this was simply about protecting visually impaired people or allowing people to be able to come and go as they please if they're on a wheelchair or if they've got a pram, then surely the happy medium would be to suggest that if said car that's parked on said pavement, if it's half on pavement and leaves enough room for people to be able to come and go as they please past the car without any difficulty, then surely that shouldn't be an issue. But to just have a blanket ban in general really does go a long way to sort of elevate the claims made by many people. And in many instances, I have said in the past myself, I'm not going to deny it, that there's a war on motorists. Because when you consider the fact that many streets across cities such as Inverness or indeed in Edinburgh were built well before the times where cars came into being, where streets are narrow. Naturally, people have to park on said curbs in order to ensure that they don't obstruct and or prohibit traffic when they leave, exit their car, and go into whatever house it may be or wherever they're going. You know, like, and of course, you obviously have to contend with the double yellow lines that seem to be dotted all around Inverness in my particular instance. But the point remains the same. Modern streets are a bit more wide. Henceforth, there is no need, no requirement to park on pavements. But in streets that were designed in a time frame where everybody was bustling about with horses and carts, it stands to reason they weren't built, designed with cars in mind. Henceforth, it stands to reason, as a consequence, people might need to fucking park somewhat on a pavement, but they haven't even met people in the middle. No. So Edinburgh are doing it, Highland Council are doing it, and our 2 new Scottish council constituencies are in the process of implementing the same shite, using the same propaganda in order to try and drum home the point and justify this utter bollocks. And that's what it is. It's bollocks.
It is a thorny issue for many pedestrians, including people who are blind or parents with a pushchair. We are talking about pavement parking. And from this morning, drivers in Edinburgh could be fined up to £100 as the city becomes the first in Scotland to enforce legislation which was passed back in 2019. But we thought we'd ask, what's the situation around the UK? Well, the Welsh government planned to introduce a new law by the end of last year, but now it says a consultation will start later this year. Northern Ireland, new restrictions were introduced in November preventing pavement parking on certain footpaths. That was only in Belfast, though. In England, a government consultation on the issue finished 4 years ago, but so far, no law has been enforced. So how's it going down, this big change in Edinburgh? Our Scotland correspondent, Alexandra Mackenzie, has the latest for us.
Good girl. Elaine Mackenzie is visually impaired.
Cassie find left.
She relies on her guide dog when out walking.
Good girl.
Cars like these, parked on the pavement, can be a hazard.
So if she thinks there's not enough
You see,
space for
even
us to
that,
get
I'm
past,
sorry, I have to.
she decides, not me.
I have to just
Good
stop
girl.
sharing the screen.
I've ended up on really.
Like, if they don't park on the pavement, then they would be obstructing traffic. You see what I'm saying? And again, bear in mind as well, right? Let me take this out of full screen, okay? Right? This was 11 months ago. This is Edinburgh, okay? The first video that I played, right, was from literally 2 days ago, okay? And what did they do in both videos? They used a visually impaired person, okay? It's all about safety. Here's some visually impaired person, right? But the principle remains the same. The propaganda is indeed the same. Think about it. Seriously. Think about this image right here, okay? If they weren't parked on the fucking pavement, then there would be no room for cars to be able to come and go, okay? And this is why I agree with the concept of an attack on motorists in many instances, because if you think about it, if you, for example, live, I don't know, let's just say you live in Glasgow and you want to go and visit your family and or your friends in Edinburgh, where this has been implemented, you then would feel compelled to probably just get a train or a bus because you might not necessarily be able to park depending on where your friend or your family member happens to reside. People don't park on the fucking pavement because it's convenient. They park on the pavement because they've got no other option. And now you have prohibited them from doing this under the guise of safety precautions, etc. The reality of the matter is, it's frustrating to witness because there, as I said, there is no happy medium. Absolutely no happy medium here whatsoever. Okay. I could get on board if it was genuinely about safety, then surely, safety. And if they were genuinely obstructing people from coming back and forth along the pavement, whether they be visually impaired or otherwise, right? If they were genuinely doing so, fine them or whatever the case may be. But if they just happen to be half-heartedly parked on the pavement, but they've left enough space for people to come and go alongside their car without any obstructions, etc., no difficulties for people to pass and come and go, then that shouldn't be an issue. There should be a happy medium. But a blanket ban to me suggests either ignorance and intelligence or yet another attack on motorists. Jury's probably out on that one. Maybe you think I'm being somewhat too conspiratorial, but that's just my thoughts on said matter.
On pavement parking. On this street in Portobello, there are also some concerns.
The problem is that if people don't park on the pavement and they are going to get charged £100 fine for that, then the roads are just going to be completely blocked. We're not going to be able to get even normal family-sized cars down without delivery drivers and emergency vehicles, which is the main crux of the situation. But what we do want is guidance, and we want some kind of ruling about how this is going to work.
It's not just pavement parking the council wants to eradicate. It's also the inconvenience caused by double parking.
Parking in Edinburgh is very difficult. We managed to find this space, but another driver suggested that we move, let him into the space, and that we double park beside him. We said that wasn't a solution because it's actually illegal.
Forward.
Elaine hopes her walks will become easier and safer, but she isn't holding her breath.
Good girl.
I love the way as well, just in that last wee segment that I played, the narrator makes reference to the fact that parking in Edinburgh can bring difficulty. Why would that be? Well, that's right, because it was designed well before a time where cars were even a consideration, a very historic city. Same principle applies with Inverness and all the surrounding towns and whatnot, but yet they've still gone on ahead with this bullshit. I mean, it just makes no sense. And as I keep saying, there should surely have been a sort of happy medium in that regard. If you are obstructing people from coming and going, then fair enough. But the reality of the matter is, even that B-roll footage that was playing in the background while that STV presenter or BBC presenter was speaking, you could quite clearly see that if the cars were actually parked off the curb, then it would be obstructing traffic. So where are people meant to fucking park? A lot of questions that just don't seem to be getting answered here. Let's just put a blanket ban on the whole concept without any consideration long-term as to the sort of consequences and ramifications that could provide, the frustration that it could provide, the hindrance that it could provide, the inconvenience that it could provide. But it's fine, just get a bus, man. Think of the climate, man. Yeah. Yeah. It's just a conspiracy. Of course it is. Then, of course, the reality is this. For example, this is from the 2nd of December, 2024. Almost £30,000 in fines for pavement parking issued by the Highland Council across Inverness, Dingwall, Thurso, Wick, Nairn, and other areas. Okay, and I mean, what I don't necessarily even see what's wrong with this parking in terms of there's plenty of space to get by. Yes, you could make the argument that there could be a little bit more on the road, but given the previous propaganda that I've just played from Edinburgh's Council and Perth and Kinross, I'd say this is pretty milquetoast in comparison. But regardless, parking on the pavement has been an offence. Oh my God. I mean, fines for pavement parking have hit almost £30,000 across the Highland Council area over the past year. According to figures published by the local authority itself, it has received 29,000 plus in payments of parking charge notices issued by its officers across the region between February and September of said year, which was last year. With 3 months of figures still to be released, that total seems likely to rise by the end of the year. The collected figure compares to the 46,000 plus total in charge notices actually issued, with £5,350 recorded as having been cancelled or otherwise written off. Going on to elaborate in relation to what this is about, Transport Scotland Act bans pavement parking, double parking, and parking at drop curbs across the country, with certain exemptions designated by local authorities, for example, to ensure safe access for emergency vehicles. Councils have been able to enforce the law since December the 11th last year, meaning drivers can be fined for flouting the ban. At the time, Scotland's Transport Minister Fiona Hislop branded pavement parking unsafe and unfair, saying this change in legislation is a step towards developing communities that are better able to support active travel. Active travel. Walking, wheeling, cycling. Trying to discourage you from using cars, prioritizing walking, wheeling, cycling, or public transportation. Get out of your car, guy. Building on the work that is already underway to reduce emissions and helping us to meet our world-leading climate change targets. Oh, that's... You know, I don't record videos. I never have recorded videos from the time of my channel's inception. Have I ever recorded a video where I've just put on a tinfoil hat before? I don't say these things because I think them. I say these things because they say them. You know? Frustrating motorists. War on motorists. Getting you out of cars. Why? Active travel. Climate change. Oh. Does the penny never drop? No. You know? Transport Scotland's own website. Active travel is walking, wheeling, and cycling. Okay? But let's just come down to their little diagram here. Prioritizing sustainable, well, there's that word, sustainable transports. So at the top of the intersectional pyramid, we have walking and wheeling, then we have cycling, then we have public transport, taxis and shared transport, and right at the bottom is private car use. Oh, what a shock. How about more people choosing to walk and cycle will reduce pollution and emissions from motorised travel, and so will help tackle climate change and improve air quality. This will also bring related health benefits. Places that are pleasant and practical for walking and cycling with better pedestrian and cyclist safety will improve people's lives in many ways, including feeling connected to the community. Places that are designed for walking and cycling are generally more attractive. Scotland's communities will benefit from this, becoming more desirable places to live, work, and enjoy, so helping to attract investment and economic activity. Walking, cycling, and wheeling will deliver benefits to the economy. Yes, so when Fiona Hislop slabbers on with that sort of BS, it's not really difficult to extrapolate where that derives from. Highland Council did not begin issuing fines for pavement parking, double parking, or parking by drop curbs until February of this year, 2024. I think, 2024, with figures at least suggesting the message that such behaviour will be targeted has gradually begun to sink in with drivers. Warning notices have been issued to offenders since December of 2023. Chairman of the Council's Economy and Infrastructure Committee, Councillor Ken Gowan, said many people face daily difficulties with pavement parking. It is dangerous and frustrating. The same proverbial shite you keep seeing. They just drum out the same propaganda, irrespective of which council constituency we're speaking of, okay? But I keep saying happy medium, right? If your car is indeed prohibiting people from getting from A to B past your car, fine. You might have an argument. You might have a point. You might have a leg to stand on. But if you've just got a blanket ban across the board without taking into consideration that a lot of these streets in question were designed at times before cars were even a figment of people's imagination, then you've lost me. But just to conclude with this, obviously, so one of the two new constituencies in question Motorists are being reminded that the national ban on pavement parking will start being enforced in Perth and Kinross from Monday. Forcing the ban is part of an effort to improve pedestrian safety and prevent damage to pavements. Fucking damage to pavements. These are the same councils that can't even be arsed to fix potholes, but they're all of a sudden concerned about fucking pavements. The Transport Scotland Act prohibits pavement parking, double parking, and parking across drop curbs. National campaign has been underway to raise awareness of these new regulations, with the law aiming to improve the safety of pedestrians, particularly those, of course, with mobility issues, etc. Additionally, pavements are not designed to bear the weight of vehicles, and persistent parking can cause damage or significant damage. With one of their councillors going on to say that we have reviewed all the streets in Perth and Kinross and will be targeting enforcement in areas where we know pavement parking is a real problem. However, we'll be keeping the situation under constant review, and if there are specific streets where enforcement brings no actual benefit to pedestrians, then we may introduce some exemptions. No actual benefits. I love that quote. I fucking love that quote. Isn't it wonderful? So they don't even know if it's going to bring benefits. Money, fucking money, eh? All for that climate, apparently. Yeah. Anyway. Fit for thought, if nothing else. Shit.